Congratulations on your win. How are you feeling?
I feel great. Yeah, it's just a blessing to be here. We were saying that in the back. It's just, my buddy and teammate Scott Holtzman has a saying. He'll yell out after a hard practice or a training session, "Best job I ever had." And certainly after a win, but even before the win, this is a dream come true being here. It really is the best job I ever had, and it was a great day of work.
Is this kind of what you pictured for this fight? How it would go?
Yeah, we didn't necessarily know we were going to get a finish. We were going to hunt a finish. Just put pressure on him, start to finish, and we knew something would have to give. It's always about my grappling style was like that when I competed in jiu-jitsu, and I think thanks to my coaching, it has also become kind of my fight style. It's just corralling my opponent and trying to make them make a decision and have either option kind of be good for me. So it was just put the pressure on him and see where it goes. But we knew how durable Carl was. Just from his record, I don't think he's ever been finished or anything like that. And he did prove that. Obviously we got the finish kind of in a weird way in short time in the second round. But he was super durable and he was fighting to stay in the fight. So a ton of respect for him too.
Was there anything about him that surprised you?
Oh yeah, he hand fought really well. I knew he was a good grappler. And we knew he had good defensive grappling, but there was a couple times where I was under the neck, and that's kind of where you find out about your opponent, what kind of fight it's going to be, is if they concede a little bit, maybe look for a way out. And like I said, he was fighting back in the fight, so huge respect to him and his team, and for taking, I know he had a fight scheduled, but to take a fight on 1 week notice in the UFC is, my family doesn't need if he doesn't come in there and step up too. So much respect to him. It takes, two in this game.
Can you talk to me a little bit about how that fight came about? Because I know you were scheduled with somebody else a couple weeks ago, or maybe even last week. Can you talk to me a little bit about that, how that happened?
Yeah, we had a real tough fight scheduled with Benoit Saint Denis. Almost 4 months out, we got the news. So we were prepping for a long time. And, he had a post on Instagram, and my manager told me he had injured himself. And, he was devastated. He couldn't fight from how I read it, and much respect to him. But, we didn't hear anything for a couple weeks about a replacement, so we were training for it. And then it was Monday of fight week, and we didn't hear anything, really. We were still waiting. And then by that night, it was like 9 o'clock, and I was talking to my manager, and I was like, what's going on? We don't have a contract. I don't want to fly out here. I have to come back, do another week camp, then come back out. And we got Carl's name, but it wasn't. And I was like, hey, at this point, can we just do it next week then so we can know we're coming out for a fight? And he got that handled, so thanks to him. And, it was just kind of a little chaotic week the week before. But, we adapt, and I just got back into camp the next day and got in the car, drove up to Gym O, which is 4 hours away. I was doing my camp, away from home largely, and we just carried on. Our head coach is the best at that, is making adjustments, whether we have an injury or a change in opponent or, a dietary need. He's the front-end guy, and he preps us to be ready for anything. So a huge shout-out to Jeff Jimmo as well.
Do you prefer having a fight 4 months in advance like that, or do you kind of like that you don't have to sit around and think about someone for so long? You can just go in a week later. Which one do you prefer?
That's a great question, because I think it's a double-edged sword. You like to prep for somebody, of course, but I would be lying if I said it wasn't a nice change of pace to have a new name. I spent 4 months thinking about Saint Denis, and we got some fresh blood in there at the last minute. So it keeps things interesting, and then it lets you go back to worrying about yourself, because we know Carl's game a little bit, but that video is not current, and it's not under the pressure of the UFC. You don't know how he's going to perform. So, it's nice to get a change of opponent. We focus on us largely anyway. It's a couple of things. We always have a template, but not a set game plan, because fighting's so unpredictable, and that's what I think the maturity, being here in the pressure cooker that is the UFC, has shown me, is like, you can have a plan, but this is the craziest sport in the world. Other sports, the better guy usually wins, the team usually wins, or you run set plays, they work out. Fighting is crazy. It's two guys in there, and, if he decides he's a flying knee guy today, my whole night could change. So, we have that maturity of focusing on us largely.
And having spent 4 months thinking about that one opponent, is that a fight you actually want, or at this point are you moving on from that?
Hey, it's a commendable opponent. He's a very tough guy and respectable, but it's up to the UFC. I'm not a guy that's a big noisemaker or I don't even know that I'm a big draw or anything like that. So I just get the name that's sent to me. We're in the business of saying yes. So I don't know. We had 2 cracks at that because they offered him to me for Paris right after the last one, and I still had a rib out of place. We were like, could we do it a little further along? But they wanted him in Paris, so I had to say no to one with him. He had to come out of one with me. Maybe it's just not meant to be. I don't know. But we're ready for whatever. I'll be back training very soon here in a couple of days, and I got a date on Monday with my daughter. After that, I'm back to training, and then, whatever's next, we'll be ready for.
And when do you want to get back in there?
Yeah, whenever. As long as I'm healthy, I feel good right now. Let the adrenaline wear off. We'll see. But whenever they say. I've had these long layoffs between fights. I don't know if that's necessarily ideal. It just seems to be the way it's been going. But I'm a guy that likes to stay active. So we do have a little one on the way in July. So ideally not the end of June or early July. But, a month or 2 either side of that, I think we'll be all right. I have to talk to the wife. But, we're ready to go. This is what we do. This is my career. So I'm ready to work.
Is this your first child?
It's our second. Yeah, talk about a whole other battle. You think dealing with fighters is tough. Try telling a 2-year-old that she's not going to be the only one in the house anymore. So we keep telling her, and she keeps laughing it off like it's not real and saying, I'm not being a big sister. So we've got to find a way to ease that blow by the time July comes, because she's a hot mess, and she goes bop-bops too. So we have to make sure there's peace, and she's not going bop-bops with the baby. So we've got to, ease the blow a little bit.
I know this is like really far in advance, hopefully, but what if your daughters decide they want to fight? Would you encourage that?
Yeah, I'm going to give you the PC answer. Yes, whatever she wants to do. But I'd steer her away. I'll tell you what. I keep a journal for her when I'm in camp and stuff about what I'm going through and what life is like and what my motivations are and all that. So hopefully she'll get to read that one day and see that it wasn't the easiest career path, but it was something that I was obsessed with and loved, so it was worth it. So whatever she comes into, yeah, whatever. But, that cliche is what I fight, so she doesn't have to. So, and then a son, it's going to be hard to say, don't do what I did, because we have a son on the way. So, we'll see, But whatever she's going to be, we'll be there and love her.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
I like that phrase, bop bops. Who came up with that one?
Well, I would shadow box when she was like a newborn to keep her from like crying and stuff over top of the changing table. And my buddy, who's my corner, Ali, when he used to talk about like fights, he'd be like, yeah, I landed that bop, bop. So I would do that. I go bop, 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 bop. And then she started seeing us in the gym, and she'd go, I have to go bop bops. So, it's bop bops. And then the other day she said, I go fight for my kids. And I was like, have you been watching like interviews or something? Like, did mom show? Like, what is going on? So, gosh, it's crazy what they pick up. But and then she has little boxing gloves that my other cornerman gave her, Zach, and she calls them her fights. I put my fights on. So, it's crazy what they pick up.
That's awesome. I'd be interested to see how she says her fight camp went. If you ask her that when you get back. If you could, you mentioned how Deaton did a good job of fighting the hands. Kind of walk us through that finish. And did you realize how close to the end of the round that was? And did you make any adjustments at that point to solidify that finish?
Yeah, I bit down and got after it. Cause I'm like, it's like a yellow light, right? I'm either gonna hit the brakes or I gotta go through it, and hit what do they do? They kiss the rear view or the visor. At least my wife does that. But close call. You got to make a decision in the split second, and I was under the neck. I'm like, I know how tough he is, but I've put it on him a little bit and cooked him, so let's just see what's going on. The shape that I was in from our conditioning, Jeff Jimmo's a mad scientist, so that's what I said to him. I said, could you imagine a time where I would just squeeze my legs in a body triangle for 5 minutes and not worry about legs being fatigued, or squeeze a choke and go, whatever, I'll be fine next round. That's what it was. So we hit the gas, just see what comes of it. That's the maturity, I think, being here. It's my, 5th or 6th UFC fight. It's like, I don't have that adrenaline dump anymore. It's nice to be able to just fight how I train.
And it maybe because you put it on extra, he actually went out as opposed to tapping. Are you surprised that he didn't tap, or was it the fact that it was so secure that he didn't even have a chance? Because that can happen so quick.
No, you know what? I think we said that he was the kind of guy that was going to have to be put to sleep because he's not going to be the guy to tap. I fought a few guys like that. Sometimes it goes your way, sometimes it doesn't. But I think being aware of who's in front of you and not having that, you see the different schools of thought where guys like, this guy's terrible, I'm going to crush him. I want to respect this guy and know what he's capable of. And I feel like that's what we did. I go in with a reverence for him and knowing he's a game guy. He made it here over how many years of fighting and never been finished. So I think it was that actually helped, was like, I know I got to hit this gas right now.
Yeah, does that give you a little more respect for a guy when he decides to go out on the shield like that rather than tap? Or
yeah, I mean, like, you could go either way. You could say when you know when to fold him too. It is what I have respect for him, because he took the fight, made the walk, pushed through all the adversity, nerves, the whole nine, and got out there and stood across from me. So however it might have been, but yeah, it's definitely commendable.
And I guess sticking with grappling, I guess last question, are you still hoping to do invitationals in between fights? I mean, is that something that you enjoy doing? Obviously, you excel at the grappling and doing that sort of thing. Do you want to stay busy doing that sort of thing? Would you rather you be in the octagon?
No, I love it. As long as that guy Big Dan's not in it. I don't know if you guys were here last time. He's got my ankle bone with him in Austin. He took it home. He's like 6'7". I was like, I didn't sign up for this, but no, 100%. I love it. I mean, I did ADCC trials last time around. It was just fun. I love this game. This isn't my identity anymore. It's something I love. I made that switch, and it's made it a lot more fun. Grappling Cerrone, doing the invitationals, stuff like that. It's just fun to come out and compete. And as I get a little older, I'm by no means old. I'm entering my prime, but just being on the mat with guys, going to tournaments with up and comers and stuff, and being a part of it. I want to be like an ambassador for my teams, my network of people, and go out there and lead from the front, right? So instead of maybe going to coach guys at a tournament, I'll hop in. Why not? I love it. What's going to happen? My reputation's on the line. Who cares? Like, I love to do this, and that's something that I've really discovered the last couple of years again. So, yeah, it's one of those things. But I was bred like that, man. My lifelong coach, John Hassett, always pushed me to do stuff like that. So I just, he has that obsession, and I think I've carried that obsession into the sport. And I'll be doing this long after I'm in the UFC, and I'll be in a gym somewhere helping the next generation. So I'll compete. I'm always very afraid I'm going to be the 75-year-old with the worn out black belt tying it up, being like, well, you have somewhere better to be than Masters 7 Jiu-Jitsu tournament, but this is what I do, so that very well may be my future.
And I know I said last on that, but it's hearing you talk about your daughter and how she's picking up all the things. Now she's going to be picking up on your excitement. When are you going to start bringing her to events? When do you think? When's the proper age that you plan on actually starting to work into some of these events?
She was born during the COVID era, or I think we would have had her then, because she's not going to remember that. She's not going to be afraid or anything. I think we missed the sweet spot. Now she's going to be like, too alert. So I think we're going to have to wait until, God willing, I'm fighting a couple years from now, maybe when she's 6 or 7 and can understand what's going on, that it's a sport, I'm not getting hurt like that and all that. But we'll see, because she's nuts, She's mostly my wife. She's got, my alertness and, watching and quiet, but she's my wife. She's crazy. She may not even care. She might be screaming, get him! She's nuts. So there's a good chance we bring that firecracker to the next one. I have no idea. So, yeah, who knows? But I know I owe her some pizza, and I think trampoline park on Monday. We were basing on how I feel. So far with the adrenaline, I'm all right. It was either trampoline park or kids museum, depending on how hurt I was. I feel good, so I might be bouncing around on Monday at the trampoline park.
Well, seeing how much she follows